Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.
Marshall's still going. Marshall's got Richards coming up outside. Now inside. Richards pursued. He pushes Jensen away. Pat Richards has scored.
G'day there, guys, and welcome to the Cat Bros. Let me just pull up the chat. AJ made it this week. Hurrah! I missed you last week, AJ. Everybody say hello to Aaron, who's a bit down.
Hello. the double wave, the sunshine wave. Try to add a little bit of sunshine into my life after yesterday.
Yes, we will get to that a bit later. As I said on the Twitter post, I don't know if you saw it, I said I'll see if I can bait you into ranting about the refs.
I mean, that's not going to take much because I am livid.
Yeah, I think all I'd have to say is, hey, how about that game? Yeah, but we can get into that, but I think the standard of refereeing this year has been a bit down.
Dismal.
We need to go back to a second ref. That's just, I don't know, my opinion.
At the bare minimum.
Yeah, I think it will make a huge difference. So tonight on our little show, we're going to just preview Magic Round and all the fun that was. With a bit of luck, we get NSL here. I think he was a bit cranky at Dylan Brown, according to what he said on the Discord, which is always good fun. Just a little bit. He was okay. look at the panther up here. How cool is that? Very cute. Yeah, so we'll give it a minute. How are you feeling, generally speaking?
Bit disheartened. That's probably the easiest way to put it. The simplest way to put it.
Yeah.
Also,
Fair
hello,
enough.
AJ. Good to see you back this week.
Yes, we missed you greatly last week. Legitimately, that's not actually, taking the piss or anything. It is nice to have you here.
You're one of our regulars, so we notice when our regulars aren't here.
Yeah. Might as well jump straight to it. Today's big breaking news was T-Baz, Trent Barrett, quitting, which you actually had an interesting response to when I mentioned that. And I've seen a few people say it's not like you just made it up on the spot or anything. Yeah, apparently last night he phoned up Phil Gould, I think, and quit. I haven't read any of the articles. I'm just like, okay, well, that's what's happening. We'll see what happens next. I don't need to know his personal details or anything or pry too deeply into him. What are your thoughts on that one?
I feel like it's a whole smoke and mirrors deal. I think them saying that he quit is the board trying to cover their own asses because they knew they made the wrong decision hiring him. He's made some good signings, but he hasn't gotten much out of them. So I think they're just trying to cover their asses and say he quit as opposed to they sacked him not even 2 years after they signed him.
Yeah. I didn't think it was... Oh, what's this? Backseat streaming?
Yeah, a little bit.
Now, what was it? I need to know. We need to know. What was it?
What did you say, Chloe? Say it again. What did you say? Phil Gould looks like an idiot now.
Yeah, there's a lot of people taking the mickey out of him on social media. Because it looks like he's just come in and straight up sacked the coach. And I don't know how everyone else feels about it, but to me it looks like you haven't really put the work in to make it work.
I was about to say, hey, Panthers fans, how does that sound?
I
sack your coach.
I thought Ivan was unfairly done by, but I thought Griffin made sense at the time, if that makes sense. Because Anthony Griffin, before he was sacked, the game before he was sacked was the game we got smashed by like 50 points from the Broncos. Thankfully, Justin's not in the chat to rub it in. But he walked out before the end of the game. And before that game, apparently the word was that he took the team up to Queensland because it was Broncos' home game up at Suncorp. And he refused, and he basically took him up by himself, refused to have the support staff and that. And yeah, then there was the stuff where he fell out with Moylan and we lost Moylan for it all. And even though we got Maloney, which in the end was actually a good thing, I thought Gus just saved a bad situation there. Cameron Ciraldo tried to quit like twice. He confirmed himself in an interview. Twice he tried to leave the club because Anthony Griffin wasn't working well with them. And I mean, maybe that's just a clash of personalities. It happens. Every workplace has them. So I'm not trying to talk down about Anthony Griffin with that. It just can happen. But it obviously wasn't a good fit for us. And yeah, I think so. I don't know. But from our experience as a Panther, it's a bit of a mixed bag. But I do think it's strange to have it happen so soon. Either he's just trying to clear the slate for next year, get it going straight away, taking like, you know, a scorched earth approach, or when he came in, he saw something that was concerning. And a lot of Manly fans have spoken up about it because that's where he was before, obviously, and he had it. They all say like he was trash for them. So maybe there's something about his coaching that's not right. I don't know because I don't know the behind the scenes stuff.
Based on his 2 coaching stints thus far, I find it very hard to believe that he will ever find another first grade coaching gig in the NRL, or head coaching gig in the NRL, I should say. Maybe in the Super League, he might have luck over there, but here in the NRL, I think he's done his dash now.
I don't think he gets another one. I don't see why he couldn't be an assistant, and maybe that's where maybe that's where his strength lies. Maybe it's just a case of someone who can be a decent assistant who's not meant to be an NRL coach. You look at Jason Taylor, who you should know fairly intimately as a coach. He still went and became an assistant after all that happened, and he's fine. And
now he's the head coach of a reserve grade team.
Yeah, he's just doing his thing, still earning some money, still around the game, gets to enjoy himself, whatever, doing his thing. But just I don't think he was meant for a head coaching job either. AJ says, where does Baz go from here? No way he's walking back in Penrith. He's not coming back to Penrith. We have Peter Wallace as the reserve grade coach. Oh, should I say the New South Wales Cup, as they call it now. And I sound really old when I call it reserve grade. And then you've got Cameron Ciraldo, and all that. So, and then he brought over your mate from the Tigers, Andrew Webster, not the reporter, the other one. So like we've got our stuff, unless the Dogs poach Ciraldo. Do you think they'll go that way, or with a more experienced coach?
I think they'll probably go with a more experienced coach. They might be the ones who go with Flano in the end. That might be where Buzz gets his mate Flano a gig. I don't think T-Baz will have any sort of NRL coaching role, assistant or otherwise, for at least the next season and a bit. I think we probably won't see him back in the coaching circles until maybe 2024, unless he gets picked up as an assistant for the Dolphins if Wayne looks in that direction. I don't know if Wayne has appointed any assistant coaches yet, or what his coaching staff currently looks like.
Yeah.
But yeah, T-Baz, where he's done his dash as an NRL head coach. Yeah, he may get an assistant gig, but I don't think he'll get much more than that. Maybe a reserve grade team. But yeah, not a whole lot of anything there.
Yeah, it's not happening. He's killed his reputation, especially going from Manly, who had a reasonable roster. Probably not premiership winning, but he had some very good players. Then going to the Dogs, and for all their issues, they do have a reasonable roster.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kyle Flanagan might not be Nathan Cleary or Jackson Hastings. You see what I did there? But bloody, he can still do halfback things.
I think the biggest problem is the Burton saga. He has not gotten.
And that's where I was going, and I was wording it really poorly. Which you kind of, I don't know if you read my mind there. That's kind of creepy, but yeah, he's got the tools in the roster to make it work up to a level, to a point. He might not win a premiership with what's there currently, but there's no reason they can't be playing better than they are. And especially for the guy, this is the guy that they said was our attacking coach and responsible for our attack from 2020. And
he really stifled and suffocated Burton's natural attacking flair, and I think that's pretty much been the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah. So our Warriors NRL fanatics YouTube content creator wanted an intro. I did intro for him. Yeah, I did everything he wanted, and it came out because he wanted all these clips in it. It came out really long, and he just asked if I can shorten it. And I'm like, yeah, no worries. I knew it was going to happen because I think he bit off a bit more than he could chew with it because he wanted there was like 4 or 5 clips.
A few too many clips involved. I did see that notification pop up as well because obviously I have access to the catbro's Twitter.
Yes, we both run it as well. So sometimes you'll get Aaron, sometimes you'll get me. That's fine. Catbros is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. So yeah, back to that. Do you think they'll go with a more experienced coach? Because the big name that's getting thrown around is Flanagan, whose son is obviously the halfback.
They'll either go with Flanagan, Fittler, or what's his name who used to coach the Cows?
Green. Paul Green.
Green, that's the one. Yeah, I just had a mental blank.
Oh, I hope for the Dogs' sake that doesn't happen. Like, I'm not judging him, but Cowboys fans, when you see the name mentioned, they all have this really negative knee-jerk reaction to it. I don't think they're very happy with the way his time with them went, even though they won a grand final.
I'd say, even though he won a premiership for him.
Yeah, because the sentiment seems to be, and we don't have any Cowboys fans here, obviously, but the sentiment seems to be that he basically won on the back of the roster that Neil Henry built, and then within 2 years trashed it.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, I mean, if a Cowboys fan hears this, they can give us their more intimate knowledge of their club, but that's the sentiment I'm seeing around on social media from them.
Mm-hmm. I feel like out of the three, he's the least likely. I feel like it's in the order I said it, like Flano first, Fittler second, and Green third.
I wouldn't
not sure who else is on the market in regards.
Seraldo isn't actually contracted to us next year, and he has a previous relationship with Gus, obviously.
Mm-hmm. I can't really think off the top of my head if there are any other experienced coaches currently.
You may hear my tiny humans in the background, by the way, because we're going at dinner time, and it's always like a zoo at dinner time.
we need to meet the tiny humans at some point.
Yes, I'll let them out of their cages at some point. I'm joking. We don't keep them in cages.
Have some faces to the screaming voices.
Yes. The one that I think people forget about at times is Jeff Tuvey.
He's still looking for a coaching gig, is he?
I mean, I haven't heard him specifically say, hey, someone hire me, but you'd have to assume he'd take a job if it was on offer, yeah? Like, he's got a reasonable record. He had made finals with Manly. I don't know. He went overseas to Super League, I think. I don't know what his record there was like. I haven't looked into it. But you would have to assume if you were a club like the Dogs, you'd at least consider it.
I mean, any gig's better than no gig, especially if you are after one or interested in one.
Yeah.
And considering Baz, he's assembled a pretty solid squad. So another coach could come in and work wonders with the squad that Baz has built, especially with the signings that they've made for next year as well.
Yeah. AJ said, wasn't Green also the Maroons coach when the Blues pumped them? Yes, he was. Bennett won with, quote unquote, the worst Queensland team ever. And then Green came in and got absolutely belted. When they got 3 Queensland home games as well, if you remember. So we played them.
That was fun.
Yeah, we played them in North Queensland up at their new stadium, beat them up there. Then it was, what was the order? Was it? Then it was Suncorp, then Gold Coast, or the other way around? I can't remember the order of the thing too. But
yeah, Gold Coast was last because that was game 3. That was the one we lost.
Yeah. So we beat them game 1 and 2, and it was their own home venues, which is a bit embarrassing.
Just a bit.
Especially considering the track record at Suncorp is pretty abysmal for New South Wales. So he essentially lost something that should have been a massive advantage to him. But yeah, I don't know. I don't rate him that much as a coach myself. No offense to the guy. I don't know him personally, but yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't want him coaching my team as an example. I mean, I know Flanagan's got that rough history with, like for example, there was a comment on Twitter, I can't remember who from, but they said, oh, he's already been done twice for cheating. I mean, fair enough, but he's been punished. And you listen to him in commentary, he clearly knows the game. If he can just be a coach, keep everything above board and go do his thing, I think he'd be a reasonable NRL coach.
He'll get the best, and he'll get close to the best at least out of this Bulldog squad.
Like, he knows what needs to happen to make them a decent team. I think somebody is screwing up if he's not first in line to get the job.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Any last thoughts on that other than good luck for the future, Trent Barrett?
Bye-bye, T-Baz.
Yeah. I'm sure your hair will be missed. Your perfectly manicured, gelled hair. But
you're right.
It's funny, though, because before we do get off it is, by all accounts, everyone genuinely likes him. And I wonder if that's part of the problem. Maybe he's too much wanting to be liked by everyone.
Yeah, and just not quite the best coach in all of existence.
Like, you look at Bellamy, probably one of the best coaches in the game at the moment and ever in the history of the game. Like, they all love him, and he knows when to go between the nice guy Bellamy and the disciplinarian, I am the boss and you will do your job, or I'm coming to get you, sort of like a good NRL coach at that elite level needs to. It's sort of like the Hulk, where you're transitioning between Bruce Banner and the Hulk. You need that duality, and I wonder if he didn't have that other side to him.
Yeah, I'd say quite possibly.
Because even the Manly players, when he left and after he left, spoke quite highly of him. And everyone tends to, players, particularly even Yo this year, still spoke highly of him. So I don't know, just a passing thought. Just maybe he's too nice for his own good. He needs to get a bit of boss about him. Like, you walk into a room, you're, all right, I'm the boss.
A bit more of a ruthless edge.
Yeah, like I said, Bellamy's the perfect example of it. You know, he will give what he needs to when he needs to, but he's also good to his players. So, bit of balance in there. All right, so we'll move on to Magic Round. That's about it.
The Magic Show.
Yeah. So what was the first game was, funny enough,
Dogs vs. Knights.
Dogs vs. Knights.
Good segue into it.
Yeah. So what were your thoughts on this game?
Pretty poor quality game, if I'm being totally honest. No, neither team really gelled. Neither team really got their groove. Bit sloppy, but I'm not going to read too much into how sloppy it was, considering the conditions. It had stopped raining, but it was very humid, very muggy.
Yeah, that they had ridiculous rain with flooding all over Queensland and stuff, so you can't really judge that stuff too negatively. I think we were going into the round worrying about the quality of football.
I also didn't get to watch the whole game. I think I only got back to my dad's place like 30 minutes into the first half or something like that. So I did miss the early stages. I think when I got there, it was like 6-6 or something.
Yeah, it was one of those games. I think they kind of the NRL admin are probably sitting there thinking, how did we allow this to be our Magic Round opener? Like, this is our first
I don't think anyone would really have expected both of those two teams to be as lowly as they were. I think one of the reasons why they put Tigers, Cowboys as the closer was because that was probably assumed to be one of the games where neither team were going particularly well.
And the funniest part was, until you guys had those two injuries, it was actually one of the better games of the weekend. It's just when you have two teams playing well and you lose multiple players, the other team's going to come over the top a bit. It's just at that level of the game, you lose 5 or 10% and you're done. But that was a massively entertaining game. I was thoroughly enjoying it because I was watching it with my morning coffee this morning, because I had to work every day of Magic Round. I had to work till 10 p.m. So I sat down this morning, made my coffee, was watching the game. That first try was ridiculous, but we'll go into it later properly. But yeah, it's just interesting that the first game was that lower quality and then the last game was shaping up to be actually a real cracker. It's like your first impression should be a good one. You know, you've got Storm Panthers, Roosters, Eels. You know, you've got, we mentioned it last week where most of them were close on the ladder and they managed to pick that as their first.
Yep.
AJ just said there's 23 errors total in that Dogs Knights game. Oof. That's rough.
It was it was a bit of a bit of a shoddy game. Like I've just pulled it up to look at the completion rates. The Knights completed 32 sets out of 40 for 80%. They had 56% possession, and the Dogs, with their 44% possession, completed 22 out of 34 at a percentage of 64.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty
it
bad.
wasn't great.
So the Knights weren't too bad by the sounds of that.
The Dogs made 15 errors. The Knights made 8.
Yeah.
A lot of the Dogs' errors, from my understanding, were early on.
Yeah.
They had a lot. Apparently, they had a lot of ball at the Knights line early in the game, and they just couldn't come away with the points.
Yeah, and that's pretty much how it went. And that, I think, that's shows a bit of a problem with the Dogs. Is like you've got this guy, the coach, who's supposed to be the attacking master coach, and multiple games this year, they've had big stretches of time where they're winning field position and they just can't convert it. And you've got players like Matt Burton playing in your halves. It just, something doesn't make sense there. AJ said 80% with only 16 points is also poor. Oh, absolutely. You know, if they played us, Storm, Eels, Roosters, the Knights would have come away massive losers with that, but they weren't. They'll play the Dogs.
They might have come away with maybe 6 points if they were lucky.
It would have been pretty bad, because with those chances you were saying they didn't get with the Dogs, where they weren't converting them, it just relieves all the pressure.
Mm-hmm.
When you turn that into points, you've got scoreboard pressure, plus you're getting possession back. The other team's defending more. It just piles on. So.
Yep. I was trying to see. The app stats doesn't give you as much information. I was curious to see like tackles inside the 20 and stuff like that, but yeah, that they don't pop up, because I think a lot of the game at stages was spent in the Knights half, and the Knights were just defending really well. But the fact that the Bulldogs completed barely over 60% of their sets probably was a contributing factor to why the Knights found defense to be not as challenging.
Yeah, a lot of the other teams this week would have made that a lot harder for the Knights. It's just the Dogs.
I think probably every team.
Yeah, I don't think I can name it too many teams that would have been that bad over the weekend. The only game I missed was the Sharks Raiders game, and that's because I was getting salty over the fact that KO spoiled the result for me. I put on the Eels game, and they had the last 2 minutes of that game at the start of the Eels game, and I'm like, what happened to no spoilers? Because yeah, because the result, I was more interested. I wanted to see them all, but I was more interested in the Tigers game, the Eels game, and then the Sharks game in that order. So when I got up this morning, had my coffee, watched the Tigers game, had something to eat, put the Eels game on, and I saw the end result, and I'm like, and I was really salty after that, and I was really cranky, so I didn't watch it. But every team
7 out of 8 games isn't too bad.
Yeah, and every game I saw, the teams would have at minimum given the Knights a run for their money. I don't think anyone attacked as poorly as the Dogs did. It's like you would almost think they were the only team that were dramatically hampered by the conditions.
The Sharks maybe, but we'll get to them later.
Yeah, when we get into that, you can give us some details on that one. Like I said, that's the one that I missed. But who was up next?
Eagles and Broncos.
And we don't have Justin in the chat. But congrats, Justin. That the Broncos, to me, are starting to really kick into gear. I'm pretty sure I tipped them as one of my big improvers at the start of the year, and you were like, eh. I said...
Yeah, you did. I think you put them at like 11th or something. 10th or 11th, maybe?
Yeah. Hey, National Sports Loaded. Hey, lads, just coming in. Matt Burton is in talks of being in the open market with rival clubs. Thoughts? I would if I was him. unless they come out in the very near future, like the next, and say, look, we've got this marquee coach lined up, and then maybe stick with it. Like if they come and say, oh, Flannel or someone's coming in who's really good, experienced coach that can get the best out of him. But while there's so much uncertainty around the club, I wouldn't be surprised to see players start to look at their options. One thing, I mean, they've got to make their money and have a decent career out of it. And my poster's falling down. Good job. See?
How long is he signed with the Dogs for?
He
2
had
years?
2 years with a player option for his third.
Okay.
But I don't know if there is any like little clauses or anything that were around. Say, for example, if the coach left, if he could leave or something like that. There's always little clauses all over the place. Like Nathan's got one in his contract, apparently. Players have all these different things in their contracts all the time.
Who knows?
So, who knows? But it doesn't surprise me. Back to the Broncos. They look like I called at the start of the year. I said Adam Reynolds behind that forward pack is destined for good things. And it's shaping up. So did you see this game? No, obviously you do a lot of driving around and you miss bits and pieces.
I did see this game, yeah.
So what were your thoughts on that?
Manly were awful. Manly were straight up awful. The Broncos looked brilliant. Manly looked terrible. It was just two teams that one team showed up, one team didn't. And the team that didn't show up copped it. I honestly think they were lucky to not have 50 put on them.
Especially with the mood that the Broncos were in. They looked like they were ready to go.
Yeah, I think having lost both of the previous two Magic rounds to Manly kind of kicked them into gear.
And I don't know, it definitely wasn't me because I've seen a few people mention it, but Tommy Trbojevic looked well off. I don't know if he's...
Yeah, he looked very hampered by his injury.
The
injury that he came back from last week.
His knee was strapped. There was that one... I think it was a chip and chase. And Adam Reynolds chipped it. He's regathered it. And Turbo was there. Like a fullback on any day of the week would get there and make the tackle. Maybe the try would still be scored, but they would at least make that contact. Adam Reynolds' momentum probably would have still taken him over the line or whatever. But he just sort of stopped there and watched him go past. And that was the moment where I was
himself.
That was the moment I was like, oh, wow. This is not the guy we're used to seeing. I remember it was either last year maybe, when he made like a try-saving tackle against Tedesco, and it was amazing, and he really showed Tedesco up that day, and I'm like, this is not the Turbo I'm used to seeing. So I mean, I kind of hope they just look after him.
I mean, I'll tell you what though, we both kind of agreed that the gap between the top six and the rest was still going to be there this year. I think we were both wrong. This competition is wide up for grabs. I think there are at the moment only 4 teams that are guaranteed to play finals, and all the others are kind of interesting. And I think the 4 that will play finals will be obviously the Storm and the Panthers, as well as the Eels and the Roosters.
And so you think the others it's not that they're going to be missing because they're bad, but they're going to be missing because everyone's improved so much?
Well, the Sharks, let's use the Sharks as an example. Their form can also be very hot and cold. Yeah. They should not have lost to the Raiders. Manly as well. They should have essentially shit this game in and put the Broncos to bed nice and early. But they're looking pretty good at the moment. Yeah, I honestly think there are 4 guaranteed top 8 spots taken, which would leave the other 4 up for grabs. And I think there are only 2 teams who won't make it so far.
Yeah. I agree. I think, we underestimated some factors. I think
We certainly did.
Yeah, I think we both sort of thought next year was going to be what this year was.
When the gap would close up,
Yeah, I think that's what we were thinking. And they've done it early, which one of the things that I think's helped as that change to the set restart rule, because you can no longer deliberately give away a set restart and set your defense and keep a team down there anymore.
Which is what all the best teams were doing.
Yeah,
well.
I even made a video last year calling that out and saying you need to change this to a penalty in your own half. We were doing it. Everyone was doing it. Because it was such an exploitable thing. Everyone wanted to do it, and as if you wouldn't. And so that I'm so glad they changed that. I was a big fan of changing that to the way it was. So I think that's helped a bit. AJ said, I bet Burton goes to Storm and Munster signs with Dolphins. That would be about right. He'll go there and then he'd be like, become the best player in the universe and play State of Origin and all that. And you just see it coming. And he also said, Cowboys have a big test in the next 3 weeks. Well, this is the thing. Now they've got Storm and us. You know, they're going to have a few tough games. I'm curious to see how they go. But we'll talk about them when we get there.
They've also got... Okay, they've got the Titans in round 13, so not as tough, but yeah, very big fortnight coming up.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, final thoughts on the Broncos game.
Broncos are starting to look legitimate. Who have they got coming up? They've got the Knights this week. They should win that. They've got the Titans after that. And then they've got the bye. So coming out of the bye, I see no reason why the Broncos shouldn't be on 18 points going into round 14.
Yeah, I think we agree. They're playing finals this year, unless something dramatic happens like injuries. So.
They're one of the teams I think are not locks for the bottom half of the 8, but the best chance.
Yeah.
My best chances are the Broncos, the Rabbits, the Sharks, and Manly.
Yep.
You've got the Raiders, the Dragons, the Titans, the Knights, and the Tigers all looking in, trying to grab those other spots, I think. And the only two teams I don't see making it are the Warriors and the Dogs.
Yeah. Definitely agreed. All right, next game is Warriors Rabbitohs, which was... We've seen the duality of the Warriors here. What?
Speaking of the Warriors...
What you doing, Warriors? And before we get into that, National Sports Loaded says, have you heard that Andrew Macca has signed as the new coach with the Bulldogs now?
I think there are about 1,000 Twitter personalities who've all said I'm heading off to the Bulldogs this week. I think it was Jacko Marto, Panthers fan and host of his own podcast with Nat, I think it is.
Yeah, the Big Cat Chat.
Yeah, that one. I think he even posted saying he was heading back from Magic Round and he had a meeting with Gus or something along those lines. So
hey, he's got that Gus connection, so you never know.
The one thing we learned about Jack over Magic Round was that he can't catch a bomb. So,
oh yeah, maybe not him then. Maybe Macca would be better.
Someone who can catch a bomb.
But yeah, I'll throw my vote in with Andrew Macca being a Dogs member. I think you've got to get some of that passion back into the jersey. All right, so yeah, this game. What do you even say? Other than Warriors, what you doing, bro? I don't understand them. I can't.
The Rabbits took the foot off the throttle, and that was what let the Warriors back in. So then I think the Rabbits had to play a sin bin late, didn't they? Which helped the Warriors out as well, in add a little bit more tension in those dying minutes.
Yeah, like I don't want to talk down about him. Do you think it's the fact that they haven't been back to New Zealand yet? It's just weighing on the club.
I think that could be a factor. For the most part, I just don't think what they're trying to do this year is working. They had a good first half against Melbourne, and then their second half against Melbourne outscored the clock by about 14 points. So they just... And then they had a poor game after that. Who'd they lose to after Melbourne?
No, I'll go check. So
round 8 it was.
So the Roosters beat them the week before 22-14, and the Raiders then they went on that big Storm game, and then the week after they beat the Raiders with a field goal.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, when they probably shouldn't have because Matt Lodge laid down.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other game I was thinking of was the Sharks game. How you lose to a 12-man Sharks team.
Yeah,
how you lose to a 12-man any team.
You're a week off, yeah.
That, to me, is probably the nail in the coffin of why they won't play finals, because that is an opportunity you cannot miss out on.
Yeah, that was...
That was gift wrapped to them.
I was at work when that game was on, and I read what had happened, and I was in shock. I was like, "Wow!" Because they had a player sent off and a player sin binned at the same time. At one point, like you're playing.
So
I don't understand.
The send off was in the 16th minute. The Warriors scored a try in the 17th minute and another in the 21st. So at that point, it looked like, holy crap, they're actually going to come over the top of them here. But then the Sharks knuckled down and the Warriors never scored another point. So it's kind of like you done fucked up, Warriors. That was a gift wrapped opportunity, and you blew it.
Yeah, that game shows how much attitude changes an NRL team. Even at that elite level, rugby league is a game that could be won and lost on attitude and mentality.
Mm-hmm.
On wanting it.
They were... What was the score here? It was 26-6 at halftime. At one point, it was 26-0. So it's like they were nowhere. They were nowhere to be found. They were lucky they didn't get a cricket score put on them again because the Rabbits looked good.
Yeah. So you think it was the Eels taking it easy on them more so than the Warriors coming good?
Yeah, you also meant Rabbits.
Yeah, Rabbits. Why did I say Eels? I don't know. I'm thinking about NSL's
the Rabbits
comments before I came on here because it was not long before that I read it and I've still got that in my head. But we'll get there.
Like, the Rabbits scored one more try in the 49th minute. And then after that, the Warriors scored 4. With the Rabbits having a player sent off, sin bin, in the 73rd minute. Although you can call that a send off because he doesn't come back.
Yeah. Same result.
It's kind of like the Rabbits let you back in and almost
to be fair,
I think that's more on the Rabbits than on the Warriors.
But we have seen multiple times where teams have done well with the player sin bin. Like you look at that Sharks game we just mentioned. And there have been other games where teams have scored as the team with a man down in that 10-minute period. So it can be done.
Another game. There was another one of those games this weekend.
Which one was that?
The one you didn't watch.
That explains it then. Because I blame KO. Sort your shit out, KO. I was really annoyed at that one. So yeah, I don't know. I'll wait till the Warriors get back and they can get back to their normal routines and do all that, and then start really seeing what's happening. And Nathan Brown, a lot of people don't rate him as a coach. At the very least, he built Newcastle's roster to be decent, so maybe he can do something there. I don't know.
So the Warriors are back to New Zealand in round 16 against the Tigers, which is the round before their bye.
Yeah.
So they've got 6 games to play before that. I'll tell you their opponents. You tell me legitimately how many you think they can win. Will win, but can win.
Okay.
So they've got the Dragons away this week. They've got the Knights at home.
So
Redcliffe.
They can beat the Dragons if they play well.
Then they have Manly at 4 Pines.
They shouldn't win that. So what was the one? Was it the Knights you mentioned?
Yeah, the Knights. So the Knights were the second one.
They should lose that one. I think the Knights. I don't think they can win that.
So then they've got Manly at 4 Pines after that.
I don't think they can win that.
Then they've got a doubleheader at Redcliffe, the Sharks in round 14.
No chance.
And the Panthers in round 15.
Not a chance in hell will freeze over before they win that game.
Which was the original game that was supposed to be in New Zealand. The original first game in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Then they have the Tigers in New Zealand before they then have the bye, and then a doubleheader back in Australia.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think they're having a very good year this year. By the time they get back to New Zealand, they're going to be, like I said, there's only one game I have any confidence in them having a chance, and that's a chance. I still don't know if they win that. But all those other games you listed, I don't think they win. I don't think they even have a shot at it.
They're 4-6 right now. So did they go into that game in New Zealand against the Tigers 4-9?
I think they will.
Actually, 4-11. Sorry.
Unless something changes, like maybe mentally they switch on, and I think they go in something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're going to play some pretty reasonable teams in there.
Yeah. Sharks and Panthers especially.
Yeah.
And Manly.
Yeah, I don't think Manly are going to play that badly.
Again.
No, that was terrible. So yeah, we'll move on to we got Dragons Titans up the tits.
Try annoys me, but
what was that? You kind of cut out a second there.
That try annoys me. The Golden Point try.
Why is that?
I don't know how you can claim that he has maintained possession of that ball if you also claim that Tyrone Peachey lost possession against Manly.
Yeah.
And that Kelma Tuolangi lost possession against the Dragons.
I will go and find it, and I'll see if I can bring up just that on its own, and see if we don't get done for copyright. Yeah, so what you're saying, where that's the one where kind of it looked like he might have bobbled it, might have not. We don't know.
It was knocked out of his hand. There wasn't separation.
So you're saying it was a strip? Is what?
Sort of. There wasn't separation, but based on the logic where they said, Kelma, you didn't score, Tyrone, you didn't score, there was no separation for either of those either.
Yeah.
However, neither of those were a try, and this one was.
Yeah.
That may just be me being a biased Tigers fan, but I feel like I have a legitimate point.
Well, I'll find it. I've got NRL.com up, and I'll go and find the try, and then we can see where we're at. So it'll take me a minute to set that up. So if you want to talk to the people for a minute, and I will go get this game, and I'll bring up that try specifically, so you can then explain your grievance.
AJ and NSL. Which of the two teams do you think deserved to win that game, or did neither deserve to win? Because it was an interesting game. They had pretty poor completion rates, I think both teams did. but the rain had started to kick back in late in that game, and that kind of took away from the quality of the contest, I feel. Both teams had opportunities to win. Both teams kind of threw away those opportunities. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about, did either team deserve to win, or did both teams deserve to lose? I wouldn't have been surprised if that game had ended in a draw based on all of the missed field goal opportunities for both sides. That golden point period, or those golden point periods, were kind of intense, I reckon. Yeah, the Dragons. I don't think the Dragons played too poorly. Tyrell Sloan, not his best game, and he's unfortunately copped a whole lot of abuse over social media that ended up with him deleting his Instagram, which is really, like really sad that still needs to happen.
Yeah, that sucks.
But I feel like both teams played decently. This was probably one of the only games of the round that I actually caught the whole way through, due to other circumstances for pretty much all the rest of them.
Yeah.
For the most part, I only listened to Rabbits vs. Warriors, and I only listened to Sharks and Raiders. I listened to and watched parts of Dogs Knights, Eagles Broncos, Storm Panthers, I think I watched most of, and Tigers Cows I also watched most of, but lost interest late in that one.
Yeah.
And Roosters Eels was another one of the kind of half and half.
Yeah.
Because I was almost half and half because I was driving for the first half and home for the second half.
Yeah, so I've got it up here. I'm just waiting for the replay to pop up because they don't do the highlights anymore. They've only got the full game on there. Good job.
They actually sometimes they do put up highlights on YouTube.
Okay.
They post highlights videos on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And sometimes on the app as well. I agree, AJ. I think it should have been a draw. Both teams didn't deserve the win.
Yeah. All right.
It was a bit of a messy golden point period for both teams. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Let's bring this up here. So now I've got it up and we can play it. They got slow-mo replay happening. And I'll pause it there and leave it at that because we don't want to get done for copyright.
The very short, teeny, tiny little clip.
Yeah, they're so... The last one we did when we actually did the previous upload, I just, even with cropping and blurring everything out, I still couldn't keep the little bits of video we had in it for your tips. So I had to have just still images that I quickly did up. Because they're so bad at the copyright stuff. It's like, I don't know. But yeah, so...
Let me pull it up, AJ. I'm not sure which team bombed the most, but I think both teams bombed a fair few.
Yeah, they had a couple, but yeah, so I did just play it. Hopefully everyone saw the clip and what Aaron was talking about in terms of... I don't know if there was any separation. I'm happy enough for it to be a try, but...
But if that's a try, Peachy's and Kelmer's from the two previous weeks' tries as well.
Well, I thought Peachy would be given the try. And I thought, is it the one I'm thinking of with Kelmer? Is that the one where it could have been a penalty try?
Yes.
See that one, for example, I was confused as to why they didn't at least. I know I thought that would have been a penalty try because I thought, but yeah, so I'm in a disagreement with the officials on those calls anyway. So
Yeah, you're right, AJ. The Titans bombed 4 1-pointers. The Dragons bombed a 1-pointer and a 2-pointer.
So it was messy. It reminds me of there was I think it might have been Broncos and Warriors or something in the last year, the year before, or whatever, where they did the same thing, except it went to an actual draw at the end of the game.
I think that might have been 2019. That was a while back.
Yeah, so it's a bit ago now, I think. But so it has happened, and we see it, but
yeah, draws in the NRL aren't very common.
No.
Let me see if I can find that result and see how many field goal attempts were missed on both sides in that 10 minutes.
There would have been a few.
Just a few.
And then we'll move on to the game of the round while you look for that.
I found it.
There you go. It didn't take long.
I'm a ninja.
That's our own
3 each.
That's not too bad. I mean, you'd expect someone to get one then, but not the worst thing in the world. Everyone's under pressure.
Yeah, but that was the last NRL draw, round 17, Saturday, the 13th of July, 2019.
There you go. Yeah, because we get the 2 rounds of Golden Point where you just need a point to win, it's not something that's going to happen very often.
I like the idea of extra time first and then Golden Point.
Yeah.
Because you can score that field goal in extra time, but you've still got to then defend and not let the other team score.
Yeah, they have a right of reply sort of situation.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the game of the round. Yeah, the boys. How good is it to be in the winner's circle, AJ? Just asserting our dominance. Look, you won our hearts. That's what matters.
Not sure it's enough at the moment.
Okay, maybe they want to win some games too. I don't know.
But yeah, you guys absolutely demolished them. It was 20-6 at halftime, I think.
Yeah.
The Storm played pretty poorly. They had a few players out, admittedly, but yeah, it just wasn't a great game for them. It was a very wet and sloppy game, and I'm surprised you guys scored as many points as you did, but yeah, very good, very convincing performance. And
the weather was what it was with the way that Penrith played. They just went and did their thing and didn't really care. It was fun to watch. I enjoyed it thoroughly. But yeah, how much do you think the injuries affected that for the Storm?
Not too much, but according to the media, plenty.
Oh, don't know. Yeah, to be fair for them, it does really affect things. You guys don't count though.
I was about to say you probably saw my Twitter post last night with the 2
Yes,
screenshots.
I saw it. That's what I was referring to.
We should pull that up later when we're talking about the Tigers game.
Yeah, I'll go find it. But yeah, that was a bit how you going. But yeah. Well, the interesting part was that their forwards got completely dominated. Like in the areas of the game where they still had their starting players, I think Christian Welch is one of the only forwards they were missing. Who, granted, he's extremely quality player. I like what he does. He's very good. But yeah, their forwards still got dominated. They didn't even. I think I think they ran for less than 1,000 meters for the first time since something like 2013 or 14. I saw written somewhere.
Yeah, I think the commentary said that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the forwards, it's a game where you'd expect the forwards to aim up, and they just didn't.
Yeah,
okay, well, the NRL app may be lying to you because it says all run meters 1,061.
Interesting, because I'm sure.
But it's saying that.
I've seen it
saying
written.
that though. Sorry, you go.
No, you're right. It was one of the big talking points out of the game how they didn't make 1,000 meters. So I'm just curious that they've got that.
I was just going to say, in saying that though, they went 1,061. You guys nearly doubled that.
Yeah. How insane is that against the Storm?
2,032.
Yeah. And that's
Like-
against the Storm of all teams, who are a very good defensive unit.
Most run meters for you guys was Targo with 198. Most for the Storm with 126 was Justin Olam. So like 72 meters less than your best.
Yeah.
As for players who ran 100 or more, let me just pull up the player stats. Runs, all run
Wait
meters.
on that.
You
AJ
guys,
said, I still think we win even with Paps and Hughes playing. Yeah, so do I, because we beat them for field position. Yeah, those are the players. Like they say, forwards win games, backs decide by how much. And the forwards didn't give them the platform that those players would need to do their fancy stuff and put on the points like they had previous weeks.
Mm-hmm. So the Storm had 2 players crack the 100, being Olam and Wishart. Their forward that ran the most, Josh King, the lock, who ran 77. Their best prop, Nelson Asofa Solomona, just 58.
Wow. It's not like he's some chump. He's a very good forward. He's huge too.
As
So.
for the Panthers,
Yo's post-contact meters would beat some of their total meters.
It has, yes. So you guys had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 past 150, and another 5 over 100. That's just in your starting 13. And you also had Scott Sorensen pass 100 off the bench. So they had 2 players pass 100. You had 11.
That
11.
tells you everything you need to know right there, doesn't it?
That's pretty much what won you the game. Isaac Targo, 198. Isaiah Yo, 178 with 61 post contact. I will also say Isaac Targo had more post contact than Yo as well. So Targo showed up Yo in both facets of the game.
Well, he is an outside back in the way we play. But all hail Isaiah Yo the Incredible. I did up the picture for someone on the League Unlimited forum. But yes, massive fan of Isaiah Yo. And how good our 1 to 5 for the start of set's ridiculous. Yes, and that's funny enough. It's the one thing that the Storm haven't done with their game yet, with the faster game, with the set restart rule and stuff in play now, and just trying to limit the stop-start of rugby league. And we have adjusted really well by using, like AJ said, we use our outside backs to do all these meters, and then the forwards just aim up in defense, and they'll just use that extra energy for defense all day. And that's how we win our field position. If you notice, the Storm outside backs are all about still that sort of more fancier, faster, attacking weapon type. And they use their forwards entirely for their meters gained. So it's an interesting one that they haven't changed in that respect yet. I think Olam's the only one who's really you'd consider like a power outside back.
Well, I mean, Pappenhausen as well, but he was out.
Yeah, but But he gets a lot of his meters. If you notice, he gets a lot of those long breaks. I'd be curious to see how he'd be just making meters.
He's on the right end of all of those breaks.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
He knows where to be and when to be there, and that's what gives him the meters.
Yeah, so I'd be curious to see what his meters would be like in a game like that we played this weekend in the pouring rain, terrible conditions, a bit of a slog. They're being held down in the forwards. I would have loved to have seen what his contribution would have been like then. I mean, he very well could have still just absolutely killed us, but I don't think he would have had the same impact as he did in previous weeks, because no matter how good you are, if you're a half or a fullback or something, you just don't get the same impact as you do when your forwards are getting dominated.
Do you think them having Pappenhausen might have changed the result much? Obviously, you guys probably still win, but do you think it changes it much into the Storm's favour?
I think naturally a little bit, but just due to that factor of losing field position the way they did, I don't think it gets them to the point of winning or anything. Probably a little bit because he is so good, but not dramatically. I think they needed their forwards to put up more fight than they did to achieve that.
Mm-hmm.
AJ said that why we're grinding teams down with our forwards because they don't have to get back. They just stand at the 30 or 40 meter and wait. Well, that's exactly what they do. The commentaries even mentioned it, where they'll be like, oh, Appy and the forwards are literally standing on the 40 meter line and just waiting for the team to get to them.
Yeah, that was exactly what the commentators were saying during that game.
And it's just like, yeah, why would you? Like, anyway, they're just waiting for the train to show up. Why use the extra energy? Yeah, so it's good. It's. I think you'll start seeing that happen more and more across the game soon. It's just because it's so effective in the 6 again era, and like I said, you look at our defense benefits so much from it. Where even at the end of the game, you're still driving them back in defense. Our props, are still driving players back, still dominating the ruck, still doing all these things because they are fresher. Like, it's surely something that's going to catch on. Yeah. Again, up the boys. That was brilliant. Love watching it. And yeah. But even that Eels game we lost, it was the same thing where the first 15, 20 minutes of the second half, we were absolutely dominant. They couldn't get out of their own half. It was
and then they came back and got you in the second half.
It was a drop ball in that period that got them some field position that allowed them to stay in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the way that style of football works. It's drop ball and penalties that will beat Penrith. Not necessarily the other team. And the Eels played fantastically. They were great. They were really good. And it still required an error from Penrith. So I think you'll see teams now start to sort of emulate what they're doing. The same way everyone tried to copy the Storm over the last few years or whatever it is. It's the way it happens. A team works out a way to play well in that style of football with the way the rules are at the time. And then everyone else tries to copy them.
I mean, if it works, it works. You've just got to find what works for your own team. Which some teams succeed at, others fail.
And it makes sense. I mean, we're going to introduce fatigue, as they like to say. Okay, let's keep our guys fresh. How do we do that? Oh, we got these little idiots standing at the back line, not doing much. Tell them to hit the ball.
Let's try take advantage of these new rules, shall we?
Yeah. All right, so we'll move on to the Sunday football. And the first one's the one that I didn't see, so we'll have to defer to your expert knowledge on this one.
So, like I alluded to before, the Raiders were a player down at 3 different points of that game, and they were 2 players down for, it was 2.5 minutes or something, 3 minutes maybe. But they were good. They were very bloody good. The Sharks were straight up awful.
So the Sharks were actually bad.
They were pretty bad. They couldn't score against the Raiders while the Raiders had players out. And then you could see that they were getting desperate. You could see that they were getting annoyed at themselves. They blew it. They, like the Warriors against them the week before, the Raiders, the Sharks should not have let that one slip. They sucked.
Wow.
And I can say that having only listened to it. They were terrible.
Give me one moment, so I'm going to go on. While you're talking about this game, I'm going to go find your post that we're talking about in preparation for the Tigers game. It's funny, when I search your name, it doesn't come up with your profile. That's really frustrating.
Weird. Yeah, AJ, I agree with you. Do you think Hines at fullback made a difference? I really think it did. He's proved what he can do in this team as the 5'8". I think that's where he needs to be. The halfback, sorry, not the 5'8". He was halfback, wasn't he? I think he was. I think he's been halfback so far.
Hines was playing in the halves before this week.
Yeah, I try and remember if it was halfback or.
I don't remember now. So, man, I'm sure you could look it up. Look at the team list. I'll go back and find it.
I think it was halfback. I think he was wearing the 7.
Oh, NRL.com. I went to click and NRL.com popped an ad up. I nearly clicked on the ad.
Oof, amateur move.
Yeah, so last week, for example, he was a halfback.
Yeah, I think that's what he's been doing this year, and it's shown that with this current Sharks team, that's what works, and they went away from that, and they butchered it. Don't get me wrong, he's a good player, and he's still a pretty solid fullback, but he showed clearly so far this season what he can do as the halfback, and they went away from him, and it cost him.
I don't know, they obviously saw something, we're trying something, but at least now they know, don't do it again. Yeah, lesson learned, right? I mean...
Yeah, pretty much.
At least you know that now. It's nice and early. You can get the mistake out of the way and like.
Good job working that out.
Bit of
they got there
error.
eventually.
Yeah. So what about the Raiders? Like they've had a year of being heavily criticised and underperforming. Is that much of an indication of them? Do you think?
Yeah, they were bloody good. That was a really good performance from them. They muscled up, they aimed up, and they had the players go to the bin and just defended it. They did well. Good on them. Deserved to win.
It's good to hear. Good. Because, yeah, I have really liked the Raiders. They do a lot of good off the field. Their community work is fantastic. So, you know, It is nice to see them have a good game. All right. I haven't seen National Sports Loaded for a second, but since we spoke about the Bulldogs, but his team is up here. And I just want to say R.I.P. Dylan Brown. He must have felt so bad after that because end of the game comes out and he has the chance to ice a really good try, beautiful individual effort, and then he has his captain and fullback to his right, but he doesn't look, doesn't hear him, or whatever it might be, and he puts a grubber in for his winger instead, which goes dead, and then Gutho blows up and rips into him, and it was a guaranteed try. All he has to do is look to his right, and they score.
I straight up think he just didn't see him.
Yeah,
Gutho.
Obviously he hasn't heard the call or whatever. He must have been calling out. Maybe the crowd was really loud or something. I don't know, but whatever it was just a chance gone begging.
You'd have to assume Gutho was communicating and talking. It just not Brown's finest moment.
Yeah, definitely not. One of those things that happen. You don't see it very often, actually. Players at that high level are usually pretty good at doing it. There was the famous one last year with the Titans. If he passes the ball, they win and go on. Remember in that first final against the Roosters?
Yep.
Yeah, where that was the last big one I can think of. So it happens every now and again, but yeah, I'm sure he'll learn from that because he'll hear about that. He heard about it at the time. You saw Gutho was blowing up, and then when they do their video during the week, yeah, I'm sure he'll hear about it from the coach, from Bad Arthur.
I hope everyone enjoys my window for a moment. Sorry to be a pain. My laptop needs charging and I need to get the charger.
That's code for he's going to show Chloe a bit of love behind the scenes.
No, I actually am getting my charger. My laptop is down. My laptop is down to 10%. I wanted to see if we could push through, and I've been keeping an eye on it all stream, but nah.
Yeah.
Battery's like, nah.
He's don't listen. He's stressing out because we're coming up to the Tigers game.
What Tigers game? The Tigers didn't play this week.
He needs a hug first before we get there.
The Cowboys had the bye.
That's why they got the 2 points. All right, we've worked it out. See, they just get
and a 24-point boost to their for and against.
Yeah, see the NRL.
Came along with the bye. That's the new reward for the bye. 24-point boost to your for and against.
Is this in preparation for when the Dolphins come in next year and working out the buys?
Yeah, that's gonna suck.
Oh, at least
feel bad for whichever team misses Magic Round next year because it is a bit of a spectacle.
Yeah, kind of sucks. I wonder if it'd be worth. Obviously, Magic Round's done here. Obviously, Brisbane normally has it. I wonder if it'd be worth having the Warriors be the team.
I think that makes the most sense. Just give them a bye that week so they can spend a bit more time with their families and just let all the other teams that are based in Australia be the teams that play.
Like, if you're going to do it in Brisbane or Sydney or wherever it happens to be long-term, whatever, let the Warriors have a week home, have a week off, spend time with their families, like you said, do their thing. They don't have to travel up here, and maybe one time have Magic Round over there and then one of the Australian teams can sit home or whatever.
Yeah, I think that was might have been the Triple M commentators were talking about that. Like, have the Warriors be the team that misses out next year, but have a second Magic Round in Auckland or something.
I think that'd be great. They've had no NRL there because of all the COVID stuff. Give them, at the very least, a Magic Round one round. Give them an absolute festival. Yeah, I'd just go helpful. They go absolutely nuts and just give them everything. But yes,
probably the problem with it though would probably be the games would have to be played probably about 2 hours earlier over there, so they'd be
but still, because you're gonna get what you get
2 hours earlier here.
I think you'll still get crowds there. Yeah, you'll have to play with it a bit like that, but I think it'd be pretty good for them. I think they'd love it. You'd probably get a full stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And we can still just work the times out so we watch it for the broadcaster at the right times over here, and it'll be fine.
Yep.
But yeah, back to this game. What do you think of this? Personally, I think it was actually a pretty decent game. I think both teams played relatively well with a few mistakes here and there, which you're going to get.
Yeah, it was quite a good quality game. Both teams, like you said, played pretty well. They both had moments of brilliance. They both had moments of stupidity. The Roosters, almost like the Rabbits, took the foot off the throttle a little bit, and that cost them and let the Eels back into it a little bit. But to their credit, they held on. They scored another try, and
AJ said they still would have been a point behind. Yeah, AJ said they still would have been a point behind. Yes, but
Mitchell Moses can kick field goals.
Yeah, and the mental edge of knowing, okay, we've just scored and we just now need a field goal to at least go to golden point. They would have had the momentum with them.
Yep.
So they would have been rolling at that point. And so even if they didn't get it, they would have had a reasonable chance and given themselves a reasonable chance. And instead of having the opportunity, they didn't even get the opportunity. So that's what it is. It's not, oh my God, we lost the game because of this. It's more we lost the opportunity to put ourselves in a decent position to win the game.
Yep.
Yeah, but no, obviously these two teams will play finals. I mean, they're looking good. I think the Roosters will build over the year. Trent Robinson was saying the other week in one of his interviews that a lot of these guys didn't actually get a preseason together for various reasons. So this is a team that has basically zero combinations coming into the season.
and they're starting to get it together a little bit. Like we saw that Walker was pretty good yesterday, or was it? Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
Had to remember for a moment there.
He's already trying to forget.
It didn't happen.
Oh, yeah. AJ said how the Eels didn't roll on from beating us and smoke the Rooster. It's because beating us, it's not like they played dramatically better than us. They didn't go and smash us and then roll that momentum into the Roosters. It was a very close game against us where, it could have gone either way. Both teams played well. We dominated them for large portions of the game. Like I said, we had them trapped in their own end for like 20 minutes of the second half or 15 minutes. And it was when Yo passed to James Fisher-Harris and he dropped the ball and they got some field position out of that. So it's not like they were carrying this massive momentum into the game. They would have had like a bit of confidence from getting the 2 points, yeah, and then it's the Roosters on top of that. You'll never go into a game against a team like the Roosters or Storm and just be able to walk over them. You're going to have to be prepared for a fight. I'm sure Eels fans were going into this fortnight or whatever it is and going, well, they're going to have to get right up mentally and physically for these 2 games.
Time to grind it out.
Yeah. It was, they were never going to smoke the Roosters on that one. But
you half sounded like Gus Gould there on Twitter, AJ.
Rooster.
How the Eels didn't roll on and beating us and smoke Rooster. All you had to do was say eel instead of eels.
Yes. I think we're onto something here. AJ, give us the insight.
AJ Gus Gould confirmed.
Who are you looking at for the dog's job? Let us know. Give us the scoop. But yes, so
see, this is the quality content you sign up for when you come listen to our stream.
We get way off topic and we say silly things. All right,
but that's why you guys listen to us, isn't it?
Yeah. So, all right. Trigger warning. We got the last game of the round coming up. Big congrats. I'll start with a big congrats to Liam Cowboys, who's in our Discord. Mad Cowboys fan. I think they've
congratulations on beating the bye.
Yes, I'm beating the bye round. But I think they've shocked the entire competition this year. No one saw it coming. So big congrats on that. But I will hand over to my co-host and give him a bit of free reign. And while he's doing that, I will pull up the Twitter post that he mentioned earlier because, yes, I did prep it while he was talking about the Sharks game. And 3, 2, 1, you have the floor.
How many F-bombs am I allowed to drop, or is there a swear jar?
I think the F-bombs are more off limits in the first minute. I think you're all right now. I think YouTube understands Tigers fans are going to use F-words.
Let's just start off by saying, what the actual fuck? That first try for the Cowboys, brilliant try. I've got no problem with it. I know a few fans do. But what I have a problem with is what began to happen afterwards. We had a very, very hard run with the refs again. We struggled at times. It just wasn't going our way. The refs even pointed out, not the refs, the commentators even pointed out at one point that the refs, or that we weren't getting the rub of the green. So
that was actually, I need to interject here. That was actually quite hilarious because that was Vossi. Now the week when you played Manly, his commentary was very Manly biased. It was all about the Trebojevic brothers, etc. Don't blame him. I love his enthusiasm. It's one of the things that it's funny. His biggest strength and his biggest weakness is that he's like an excited fan, and he kind of latched onto Manly that week. And he was actually talking with one of your Westlife mates on Twitter. There was that little exchange which we mentioned, and that was a bit fun. Yeah, and I said he was very Manly biased that week, and then this week he gives you guys just that little bit of credit there. Because obviously I think a part of that was he let his excitement get ahead of him the week before, but also, yeah, it was probably a bit, how you going? I brought up you've got your Twitter there, everyone can see it. It says, where to even start with tonight's game, different rules regarding penalties and HIA for headshots. Felt scores of a forward pass. Dearden changes his line to run Brooks off Cotter so he can score. Oh, and the Storm are depleted, but the Tigers get thrashed despite a larger injury list. So, and there's Panthers flex title muscle with rout of depleted Storm. So that's one headline. Cowboys thrash Tigers to wrap up Magic Round in style. And they've typoed, they've got an I on the front of 2 there too. So while they're trashing the Tigers, they didn't even spell correctly. So yeah, that's what he was talking about before. So yeah, back to you.
So I'll go in order there. So back to the first part of what I said in that post. The HIA
different rules
situation
around penalties and HIA for headshots.
So we had a player, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Ken Mamalo. So Ken Mamalo copped a palm to the face as he was being tackled. He went down because he was obviously quite sore. There was no penalty awarded, and he was later taken off by the independent doctor for a mandatory HIA.
Yeah.
He
NSL
passed
came
and
back.
was allowed to come back.
Sorry to interrupt. NSL came back saying if we don't beat Manly this Friday, he has no hope in this team anymore, which I think is a bit harsh. You're playing probably like a top 4 team. He said the way they lost against the Roosters was a disgrace, but I'm sure you've heard this anyway. Yeah, we have, but like I said, we as neutrals thought it was just a high quality game where either team could have won. Have you heard about Hastings? Yeah, we'll get to that, I'm sure. And
I'm going to bring that up, yeah.
The Cowboys phones, I'm referring to, not the players, yeah. So we'll get to that one. So yeah, that's our thoughts on that. We just thought your game was a good, high quality game that either team could have won. But obviously you're emotionally invested as your team, so you're going to have that more intimate view of it, which is your right. And yeah, we don't judge you over that one. That's fair. Like, we do the same thing for our teams, I assure you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, so sorry to interrupt, but obviously NSL just jumped straight back on. So.
No worries.
So you were talking about the HIA and penalty inconsistencies from your tweet.
Yes, I was. Okay, so the thing about it that gets me is the treatment of the 2 players, the treatment of the 2 incidents. So Mamalo, like I said, cops a palm to the face, goes down, no penalty awarded, and gets taken off for a mandatory HIA. Not long later. Not too long later in the game, Felt falls into a player's waist, stomach, whatever he falls into, and kind of just how do I word it? He kind of goes down onto his haunches, head in his hands, like head on the ground, head in his hands. He's awarded a penalty, and he doesn't end up being taken off for a mandatory HIA despite staying down on the ground. So I'm very confused about the differences there. I'm confused as to how a player copping a palm through the face is not a penalty, while a player falling into another player's waist / stomach / whatever is a penalty. So I don't know how that works. And the thing that made it more annoying for us Tigers fans was the fact that not long later, Kyle Felt scores a try when he probably should have been off the field for a HIA, given how he responded in the tackle where he slipped and fell. Not only that, but having Spider Cam opens up a whole other can of worms in regards to the forward pass debate, because you could very clearly see that the pass to him that led to him scoring was quite clearly about 3 meters forward.
Yeah, it did look like a forward pass, so even as a neutral. But, I mean, what do you guys in the chat think? Do you think it was forward? Or anyone who watches it on a replay later, let us know. What do you think? when the VOD part this comes up. Let us know in a comment, maybe. What do you think? Does the NRL need to sort itself out as far as forward passes go? I think they do a bit, but what are the touchies even doing?
Sleeping, apparently. And then the third part of what I mentioned, Dearden changes his line to run Brooks off Cotter so he can score. This is called an obstruction every day of the week. You can clearly see in all of the replays they showed that Dearden literally turns his head to see where Brooks is and continues to run, to change his line and run directly in front of Brooks.
Is this where they're behind? So he has they're behind the player with the ball?
Yes.
Yeah, so what the rule is with that... Yeah, so what the rule is with that is it's not technically deemed an obstruction. What you will find is what they normally do, they rule it as they're a support player, therefore, because they're behind the ball, they're not an obstruction. They will only ever get called for an obstruction if they're in front of the ball with that. So while...
However...
Yep.
The part where he turns to look to see where Brooks is and continues to run that line, changing his line, that directly impedes Brooks is what I've got the problem with.
Yeah.
I get the rule and how, because it's all behind.
Yeah.
But I reckon Brooks was a chance of making a tackle there, but having Dearden run directly in front of him, as a support player or no, kinda didn't help. Because you could see Brooks stumble, you could see Dearden deliberately see where Brooks was, saw him run that line in front of him, saw Brooks stumble, and therefore essentially put him out of the chase to get to Cotter.
Yeah. See, in principle, I completely agree, because if you're deliberately impeding the player, well, you're deliberately doing it. But as far as the rule goes, they're never going to call that one. You're only going to get that one if it's on when they're blocking kicks, and they'll actually check for the blocker and whether he's looking at the defender or not. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things that every team and every fan would have to cop that, just the way they officiate things, unfortunately. But like I said, in principle, I completely agree that, like, if they deliberately do it, they should get called on it. You know, if they're just running a support line and they kind of get tangled up with the player, well, that's just a bit of bad luck, because, you know, you've only got so much space and everyone's just doing their thing and whatever accidents happen. But, you know, like I said, so in principle, I agree, but the rules will never give you that one. And then you went on to mention those headlines that we showed. So, yeah, with Fox trying to...
I'm just trying to find the NRL's most recent injury report post for a bit of a comparison about how many players are out from both teams currently.
Yeah. So while you're doing
before the game.
Yeah. So while you're doing that, I will give my opinion on the game, because I'm actually a lot more lenient to the Tigers than you are a little bit. I'm more forgiving of that game. I think that game was closer. While you didn't have the two players out, you lost two spine players. I think that's entirely what allowed the Cowboys to come over the top of you. I think there's every chance you win that game. And at points, you looked better than them, especially on the edges when you were running those plays to your left. You were making them look a bit average in defense. Was it Marmelo's wing? Getting the pronunciation wrong, probably. He's on that side. So when you're running out that side, basically you'd go Hastings and Brooks and all that, run the backline plays out that way. You looked really good, and I think there's every chance you win that game. So I don't think that's all doom and gloom. The worst part of it is the fact that Brooks is going to be out for a bit, because as a halves combo, they've done really well. And it would have been nice to see Dewey come back with them two in the team. But now he's obviously going to have to just go into the halves.
Yeah.
though I have seen suggested when he comes back, because of how bad everything is, he might have to go to the back line and go into the centres while Madden plays halfback. Do you think something like that might happen?
Quite possibly.
Because obviously you're going to bring up the injury list soon, so we'll see just how bad it is. It's horrible.
I've got it now, yep.
Yeah.
Did the Storm lose any players to injury during that game?
Not off the top of my head that I can think of.
Did Asofa Solomona play?
Yes, he will be out injured now, but he played the game. And
yeah, so the most recent one I found.
Yeah, Brandon Smith did have a HIA situation, but it was essentially they did it over half time and he came back. So he didn't really miss the game much. And Asofa Solomona, I think, I saw NRL Physio, who's a complete legend with his content and everything, said I think he will miss games, but he played the one against us.
Yep. So the one I've found, the most recent one I found was updated as of 3:44 p.m. today. So let's have a look at the Storm. So the Storm's list has 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players on it total. So you've got Christian Welsh and George Jennings, who are gone for the season. You've got Remus Smith due back late in the season. You've got Tepai Maroa and Ryan Pappenhausen both due back around round 15. Will Warbrick, whoever that is, due back this week. And then you've got Jerome Hughes and Nelson Asofa Solomona, both to be confirmed. Yeah, so that's 8 players.
And you can't count him for our game if you're comparing this weekend, because he's only counting from the next round.
Players that were available in round 10.
Yeah, he played that game. So you'd scratch 7, yeah, so you scratch the 1 also. And then now
And I'd probably scratch off Will Warbrick as well, because I've never heard of him.
Yeah, I don't... Who is he? So, let's call it 6.
We'll call it 6. The Tigers lost 3 to injury /HIA in that game. And their list currently has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12.
And to be fair, are there any names on there like Warwick, who we had no idea who he was? Are there any names who would be on that level where they might not have played anyway?
There is one who isn't on the list, but should be. So we'll call it 13, including him, which is Rua. And I have no idea how to pronounce his surname, but he got injured a little bit back in Reggie's. And a lot of us Tigers fans were thinking he was going to be a legitimate chance of a debut later this year.
Yeah. So are there any we would scratch off the Tigers, the same we did for the Storm? Just to be fair, so we're not being ridiculous to them.
The three who got injured during the game, which were Brooks, Musgrove, and Simpkin.
All right. Well, I would at least count still Brooks and Simpkin, because I mean you've just lost 2 spine players for a large portion of the game.
Oh no! I mean players who were available for selection.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was just seeing if there are any we would take off the list. Like, obviously, the Storm had 8 and we brought it down to 6. Are there any on the Tigers list you'd do that with?
No. Let's run through the list, shall we?
Yes, let's do.
So, Sean Blaw out for the season. Tommy Talau due back in the later stages around round 21. James Roberts back around round 15. Dewey back around round 14. Laurie back around round 13, which for us is the bye, so we call that round 14 as well. Simpkin back around round 12. He'll be available. He will be eligible for selection in round 12. He won't be eligible for selection in round 11 because he copped the concussion, failed the HIA, and we have a 5-day turnaround. So he's definitely not going to be available for round 11. Then we've got David Nofaluma, Thomas McKaylee, and Asu Kepaoa, all due back this week, hopefully, with Gildart, Musgrove, and Brooks all to be confirmed.
Yeah.
That is the Tigers injury list. All 12
This is why
of them.
he was having a go at those headlines, because it's the word I would use is bullshit, and they're deliberately
That they have
twisting it that little bit for drama.
They have absolutely no problem saying, "Oh, the Storm were depleted with their 6, 7, 8 players out by the end of the game." Oh, but not the Tigers. The Tigers got thrashed despite their injury list of fucking 13.
Yes.
That's a full starting team.
Yeah.
13 players. And looking at this list of 12 players, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, in my opinion, would all be in the starting 13, week in, week out.
Yeah.
The ones that I'd say would be debatable are Gildart, Kapoa, McKaylee, and Musgrove, if the rest of the team is fit as well.
Yep.
Maybe Roberts. Maybe I'd swap Roberts and Musgrove. But you've got Blore, Talau, Dewey, Laurie, Simpkin, Noffa, Brooks. All those guys are in your starting 13.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah, that makes sense. And this is why I kind of argue with you a bit and don't be so down on it, because it's not your team's fault. They are playing their absolute butts off. And yeah, whatever they did in the preseason was good for them to play better football. They just, and it's probably a dash of Hastings coming in with his enthusiasm and skill. And as I keep saying, I would bet legit money that they are going to be much better for having players back, and they could make the 8, at least the bottom part of the 8. Yeah, between 8 and 6 or whatever. I
just saw that post for the Storm game after seeing the one for the Tigers game.
Yeah.
And I was furious.
Oh, of course you would, because they're deliberately doing it.
They're a top team, and they're a top team, and they're depleted. The Tigers, we're one of the also-rans, but no, we're not depleted. We just got thrashed.
It's even worse when you consider the perspective of they've got Craig Bellamy and they bragged about as having some of the best coaching systems ever. One of the most professional clubs ever, and they've got the next man up does his job and all that. We always hear about it constantly. So it's even worse from that perspective, and you guys are the ones with the coach under pressure all the time, and there's problems at the club. Well, hang on, shouldn't your injuries have a bigger effect on you than it does them?
Considering the quality of players that they still have at the club.
Yeah. So you can tell it's just drama.
I don't think we have enough players to name a squad this week.
Well, we're getting close to being able to name the development players, so you might be able to.
That might be this week.
Yeah, that's very, very soon, if not coming. So at least you'll be able to name some 14-year-olds or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That might be what you got left. You're going to have to go down to like Jersey Flegg or something and get some blokes.
The Westlife Pod boys were having a joke earlier on Twitter, and I think I saw Josh said Shane's taking his boots to Leichhardt with him on Friday just in case he needs them.
You might need to. It's going to be you and the Westlife guys lining up. I hope you got some boots there and a jersey.
Bloody oath, I'd line up alongside Jacko. Get me out there. Get me out there.
Oh, you'll be his number 6 playing with Hastings.
Put me in, coach.
Yes. So it's not all doom and gloom, but yeah, the media will try and get some drama happening. So that's Magic Round. Was a bit shame about the weather, but what can you do?
Round held up surprisingly well. I think one of the first things I said in my tipping video last week was that I was worried about how the surface would become.
Yeah. Well,
the rain
NRL
wasn't as heavy.
On that, NRL Physio said a softer ground is actually better for injuries, because a harder ground actually makes things worse. He's got a bit of an article and everything out on it.
I was more thinking the ground being torn to pieces would be bad.
Yeah. So, well, go look at NRL Physio. He's got stuff on it, but yeah, I think Once you get to, obviously, if it gets really, really bad, then, which is, I assume, what you were worried about, but it held up really well.
I'm just going to go back to the injury list for a moment and run you through how many players from every team are out, okay? So we will start with, so we're going to go in order, alphabetical order, like the list is here. Broncos have 5. And none for the season. I didn't realise they
had that many. Justin, you're not here, but your players are down. They need you.
The Raiders have 7 with 2 out for the season. The Bulldogs have 6 with 1 out for the season. 5 for the Sharks. None out for the season, but 1 indefinite. The Gold Coast Titans have 3, 1 out for the season, and 1 indefinite, neither of which I have ever heard of in my life. Manly, 2, 4, 6. Manly have 8 out with none for the season, 3 indefinite. Like I said, the Storm have 8 there with 2 out for the season. The Knights, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. None for the season, but 3 indefinite. The Cowboys, 1, and he's out for the season. The Eels, 6. 2 of them are out for the season. The Panthers, none. The Rabbits, 8. None out for the season. The Dragons, 5 with 3 out indefinitely.
Yeah, we just got Sorensen and that back, so we're doing actually really well now.
Yeah.
And Toto, Sorensen, and Leota all just came back. So
then you've got the Roosters, 7, 2 indefinite. The Warriors have 7 as well, none for the season. And then there's the Tigers with 12. So the Tigers and the Knights are the most heavily hit so far, but the Storm are the ones who are depleted. Make it make sense, people. Make it make sense.
Yes. It's all good. I think we might.
Anyway, so the other thing it was mentioned in the chat by National Sports Loaded, I think. The comment that was made to Hastings. So
yeah, we didn't touch on that. We were meant to lead the way on that. What I heard was apparently he had his sisters were threatened and mentioned by name.
Yep. So essentially, after he took his second conversion, he went to a ground staff person or ground security and crowd control person and pointed out someone in the crowd and made an official complaint. Don't know exactly what was said, but you could see that he wasn't particularly happy. And it turns out a fan was ejected during halftime. What the fan had done he had named Jacko's 2 sisters by name and threatened to kill them.
That is absolutely disgusting.
Good on Hastings for reporting it and not descending, not stooping to that person's level. And I hope that fan gets permanently banned from the game because we don't need that. Same as the people who have abused poor Tyrell Sloan. That's not necessary either and not appropriate.
Yeah, I just can't believe someone would actually do that. It's over a game. Like, yeah, we're all invested. We all love the game, whatever. But that is ridiculous. And I honestly can't believe the amount of restraint he showed. Like, that's insane. Like,
yeah, a lot of Tigers fans were saying if it was them, they would have sat the ball on the ground next to the tee, gone over, and been ready to throw hands with the guy.
Well, yeah, most people would. That is extreme. That is ridiculous. Like that is so bad. Doing something like that and saying something like that, I can't believe you'd do it.
Like, this guy has found his sisters' names and threatened to kill them. Like, what the actual fuck?
Yeah, the fact that he could... That
is a bit much.
The fact that he knew their names and everything, that shows premeditation as well. Like, surely this is something that ends up with a visit from the authorities or something, because that's premeditated. He's had to look up and find out who his family is to do this.
So he's been charged with disorderly conduct, but we are of the impression that the police will charge him further.
Yeah, you would assume so, at least. I don't know. No expert on these things. But that was pretty bad. Yeah, so I think that's everything. I think we'll leave it at that. I think that's everything from the weekend.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Stay tuned to the channel for my tipping video and whatever Ryan decides to throw in there as well later in the week. Don't forget to hit subscribe and then the bell icon so that you get notified when we drop that video.
Yeah, and
also, leave likes, leave comments.
Share a link to the video around. Let people know. Tell people to come and watch us. It'd be good to have more people in chat, and discussion is good. That is why we do it, to interact with the fans and NRL community.
Likes and comments and all that fun stuff too.
And on our way out, I'll leave you with this picture of Yo to grace your Monday night. And he got the 3 Dalian points as well. Well deserved.
Oh, did he? Again?
Yes.
Does that put him back at the top of the leaderboard?
It does.
I was about to say it probably does with Pappenhausen out.
Yeah. So I really hope he gets it this year. Forwards don't get it all that often, so it'd be nice, and he is well deserving. I don't take the Dalian very seriously, but it'd be nice to see him get it just because he is so amazing.
Okay, so he's now on 17 points, 2 points ahead of Ryan Pappenhausen and Mitch Moses.
Yeah. So just keep giving him 3 points. I don't care if he deserves it or not. Just give him the points. I want to see him win it.
3 points ahead of the very surprising Ben Hunt as well.
Interesting, but he has been very good in a team that might not be matching him. Because I've always rated him. Actually, I thought he copped it a bit unfairly after the grand final and what happened, but yeah, I think he's a decent player.
He is indeed.
Yeah. All right, guys, we'll leave it at that. Good night to everyone. Thank you for coming. Like Aaron was saying, subscribe, hit the bell, tell people to come and watch us, share us around, all that good stuff, and like the video, and we will see you next time.